Hey guys, welcome to this video. We'll travel to Chicago, the third largest city in America, behind New York and Los Angeles, that is home to 2.7 million people. It's the epicenter of Midwest, a region in the U.S. known for its farming and manufacturing. They call it America's heartland. Chicago is located in the state of Illinois at the southwestern tip of freshwater Lake Michigan. It has the third largest economy in the U.S. with a gross metropolitan product of $770 billion, which is more than that of Switzerland. The city is known for its bold architecture, diverse economy, universities and urban beaches along the shores of Lake Michigan. But let's talk about his history first. Chicago was incorporated as a city in 1837 and grew rapidly throughout the 19th century, becoming an important center of commerce and a transportation hub between the eastern and western United States. A flourishing economy brought residents from rural communities and immigrants from abroad. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 destroyed much of the business district and left more than 100,000 people homeless. But despite that, the city continued to grow rapidly, and by 1900 Chicago was already the fifth largest city in the world. Today the Chicago metropolitan area, also known as Chicagoland, is home to 10 million people. It's an international hub for finance, culture, industry and technology. It's home to the Chicago Stock Exchange, now called NYSE Chicago, where the first standardized futures contracts were created. There are four major sections of the city: the Loop, the north side, the west side and the south side. Let's start with a Loop. If you come here for business or as a tourist, this is where you'll be staying. It's a beautiful Sunday night and we're cruising down Michigan Avenue. Let's go, let's go, let's go. This is the second largest central business district in the United States and the most Manhattan-like place in the U.S. outside of Manhattan itself. The good part is Chicago is much cleaner than New York City because garbage goes out for pickup in the back alleys, not on the sidewalks in front of stores and restaurants as is common in New York. Chicago's Loop is home to the best entertainment in the city, first-rate hotels and world-class shopping. My first impression was wow. The Chicago River and its Riverwalk are just fantastic. You can take an architecture boat cruise up Chicago River and you can gaze up at a lot of cool buildings like Chicago's famous Marina City Towers, aka the Corn Cobs. It was an urban experiment by architect Bertrand Goldberg, designed to draw middle-class Chicagoans back to the city after more than a decade of suburban migration, because downtown living hasn't always been so trendy. The Loop architecture has been dominated by skyscrapers and high-rises since early in its history. The home insurance building, built in 1885, was the world's first skyscraper. Willis Tower, the third tallest building in the U.S., currently formerly known as the Sears Tower, was the world's tallest building for nearly 25 years. It has an observation deck, but it was closed at the time of our visit. Trump International Hotel and Tower is the 7th tallest building in the country. And here's the tower of the most favorite politician in Chicago, Donald Trump. The Loop is a first-rate shopping destination. North Michigan Avenue features a lot of boutiques, restaurants, and high-rise malls, and a section of it called the Magnificent Mile is an upscale shopping street home to restaurants, luxury retailers, and hotels. It's the fourth most expensive shopping street in the U.S. behind 5th Avenue in New York, Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and Union Square in San Francisco. Here you will find such historic landmarks as Chicago Water Tower, the terracotta Ridley Building skyscraper, and the 100-story John Hancock Center, which is now called 875 North Michigan Avenue. It's got 360 Chicago observation deck where you can ride Tilt, Chicago's highest thrill ride. It's an enclosed moving platform that literally tilts you over Michigan Avenue from the 94th floor. The Magnificent Mile serves as the main thoroughfare between Chicago's Loop District and its Gold Coast, which ranks as the 7th richest urban neighborhood in the U.S. and consists of luxury high-rise apartment towers and stone mansions. But Chicago is not a concrete jungle. There are plenty of parks like Grand Park. It's a huge urban park which is sometimes called Chicago's front yard. It's home to the Buckingham Fountain and the Pritzker Pavilion, where free concerts and festivals can be enjoyed throughout the summer. Another recent addition to the city is Millennium Park, built in 2004, and it features crowd fountain and interactive work of public art and video sculpture. Lurie Garden at beautiful and serene art that many people don't even notice because it's tucked away behind the tall hedges. And the Bean, of course. Cloud Gate is the official name. It's one of the modern masterpieces in the heart of Chicago. Its design was inspired by the liquid mercury, and the sculpture surface distorts the reflection of the city skyline. It's a great spot for taking pictures. We are in the Millennium Park and it has a lot of cool installations and hard objects. The coolest, which I think, is a Cloud Gate. Right next door is the Art Institute of Chicago. It's hands down one of the best art museums in the country and one of the largest collections of Impressionist art. Outside the Louvre, you can spend days walking around the museum. They had the Obama Portraits exhibition in the summer of 2021. I could tell there's a little bit of an obsession with Barack Obama in Chicago, so there's a special gallery of Barack and Michelle Obama's portraits. And in order to go there, we had to get a line. I got 108 people in front of me. That's how popular they are. If you didn't know this, Barack Obama was a professor at the University of Chicago Law School. But I was just wondering, can you imagine Donald Trump portrait exhibition in Chicago? I didn't think so. If you are into museums, then come to Chicago's museum campus. It's a wonderful 57-acre park that sits alongside Lake Michigan and houses several of the city's leading institutions all in one place, like Soldier Field Stadium, an American football and soccer stadium, the Shed Aquarium, where you can explore underwater worlds and watch rare and local aquatic creatures, Field Museum where you can spend a day exploring natural history in world cultures. As you enter, you'll be greeted by Maximum the Titanosaur, the largest dinosaur to ever walk the earth. Amazing. You are looking at the largest mammal to ever walk the earth, but fortunately he lived 101 million years ago, so he's not a threat anymore. Here I am. And don't forget to say hi to Sudha, most complete and best preserved T-Rex ever discovered, just the kind of stuff that I enjoy. And finally, the Adler Planetarium where you can marvel at the wonders of the universe. The Chicago Theater District is a hub for world-class productions with many theaters like the Chicago Theater CIBC, Theater James Nederlander Theater, and many others. By the way, this biograph theater on Lincoln Avenue, which was once a movie theater, was the location where notorious bank robber John Dillinger was shut down by FBI agents after he watched the gangster movie there in 1934. On a warm sunny day, you can visit Navy Pier, which was open to the public in 1916. We are the Navy Pier close. Let's go have some fun. There's Ferris wheel. There's a carousel. It extends 300 feet into the water and offers over 50 acres of parks, shops, restaurants, and a 150 food ferries. From here you can also catch a boat tour or just enjoy some tasty food and views of downtown. Now let's take a look at North Chicago. The northern neighborhoods are desirable for their waterfront location and nightlife, like Lincoln Park, one of the most affluent neighborhoods in Chicago, just 2 miles from downtown. The community is named for the 1,200-acre park, which includes beaches, gardens, a zoo, a museum, and more. This is one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city. My friend Chris lives here, so let's talk to him. People like they move here when they're just out of college, right? They get a good job in the city that pays decently well. They want to live in this neighborhood because there's a lot to do here. Then they get married, then they have their first kid. Then when they have their first kid, they buy a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo, and you can get those for about $500,000 to $600,000 from once they have their second kid. Though is when they leave the neighborhood. 3-bedroom places are typically where things start getting north of $1 million, and it gets really hard to juggle having a family and making enough money to support that kind of lifestyle. Yeah, I would say that the people that you see living in this neighborhood are young professionals, and they're living in multi-unit built, high-rises. Like me, 1-bedroom apartment, 17181900. Month studio is going to be in a range of like $1,100 to $1,300 a month. 2-bedroom is going to be about $2,000 to $2,500 a month. Next to it is one of the oldest zoos in the U.S. Lincoln Park Zoo, and it's one of the last remaining free zoos in the country, and I have to come all the way from Russia to see a polar bear, but he doesn't want to see me because I can't find it. 35 acres of animal farms. Another nice neighborhood in the north is Lakeview, popular neighborhood for young professionals, and it has access to 3 train lines. This is the home of Wrigleyville Stadium established in 1914, this area swells with activity. During Chicago Cubs home games it's densely packed with lively sports bars and cool pubs. If you drive even further up north, you are going to end up on Northwestern University campus. This university is known as the Ivy of the Midwest. We are walking on the campus of Northwestern University. Nice and peaceful. I'm not a student, but we are certainly enjoying it. From what I've heard, this university is really famous for its journalism department. Its campus is sitting on a really nice beachfront area along the shores of Lake Michigan. Michael, do you swim in the Michigan Lake? Not anymore. It's a very cold lake. And I used to when I was young. We used to dive off of rocks like these into Lake Michigan, but I think these days I wouldn't get into Lake Michigan anymore. It's too cold for me. The west side of Chicago is famous for cool arts and neighborhoods like Wicker Park and Bucktown. There's always something interesting going on. These areas draw shoppers hunting for unique finds, foodies looking for the trendiest eats, and bar helpers searching for late night buzz. West Town is another neighborhood on Chicago's west side, and it's home to large Polish and Ukrainian communities. Like the Ukrainian village, I've always wanted to visit it, and luckily I found some guys to talk to. So are you Ukrainian? I'm Ukrainian. I was born and raised in Ukraine until I was 15, and then my whole family moved here. My sister's getting married in 2 weeks, and this was like a wedding shower. So me and my brother, we dressed in Ukrainian clothing as far as Ukrainian diaspora. So the biggest one is here then. Philadelphia, California. It's a comfortable place to live, right? Yeah, this area, it's a nice area, plus you are not losing like your national identity. If I'm not mistaken, in some journal or some magazine, Ukrainian village was voted number 1 either safest or like one of those chicky-picky stuff. Yeah, the most comfortable to live. Yeah, which restaurant would you recommend? Restaurant, I'll try that. If you guys want to try Ukrainian cuisine, go to a tree. You guys have Instagram? Yeah, I do. It's called Keep It Russian. Keep going. Now the south side of Chicago, it's got some nice neighborhoods like Hyde Park and Kenwood, the home of former US President Barack Obama. Do you want to see the actual home Mr. Obama used to live in? We are in Barack Obama's neighborhood, and this is the house he lived in when he became senator of the state of Illinois. He also lived here when he was president, and every once in a while he would come into town. And at this time in my life, I was working in the John Hancock building, and my office was looking out towards Lake Michigan. And every once in a while I would see these crazy things kind of happen out the window, like a Chinook helicopter flying across the water, or I think one time too I even saw Marine Force One, which is the Air Force One as the President's airplane. Marine Force One is the President's helicopter, and so you would know he was coming to town when you started seeing kind of abnormal aircraft flying along Lake Michigan. And now somebody bought his house, I believe, so I don't think They've turned it into a museum, yet as you can see on the sign, it says this area is protected by the United States Secret Service when Barack Obama was president. You couldn't even walk up or down these streets. There were police on both sides of the street in addition to all these barricades. I guess. Do you live here now? Know the University of Chicago, ranked one of the world's top 10 universities, is also located in Hyde Park neighborhood. Barack Obama was teaching constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School from 1992 to 2004. Its campus is nice and one of a kind. It has its own university police and emergency buttons throughout the campus. If you are on a campus and something bad happens, what you want to do, smash that button down and the police car is going to be there in a second. There it is. Yeah, while the campus is safe, the university is located in South Chicago, and as you may know, the South Side has a lot of crime. So students and staff members alike can get robbed and sometimes even killed if they walk in the wrong direction, like this poor Chinese international student. He got shot to death in November. Riverdale and West Inglewood are some of the most dangerous neighborhoods for most Chicagoans. They're like no-go zones. Chicago's Chinatown is also on the south side, but a lot closer to the Loop. If you enjoy Chinese cuisine, you are going to find a lot of cafes, dim sum spots and tea houses. Also on the south side, you can catch a baseball game at Guaranteed Rate Field. Going to a baseball game is part of the Chicago experience. This is the home ball park for Chicago White Sox, and you gotta try some amazing game food. I'm going to try a Chicago hot dog, and it's a foot long. I don't really know much about baseball, and it's a long game, but it was fun. Nonetheless, we had a blast. Go White Sox. And don't forget to visit the Museum of Science and Industry. You'll get to see German submarine U-505 models of cities and trains, and even the Marvel exhibit. Chicago is a popular tourist destination. 58 million people visited the city in 2018. In 2020, Chicago was ranked the 6th most walkable city in the United States after New York, San Francisco, Boston, Philadelphia, and Miami. It has the second largest public transportation system in the U.S. The Chicago Transit Authority operates the L trains. L stands for elevator buses and the metro train for transportation between Chicago and the rest of the suburbs. The L provides 24-hour service on the red and blue lines. In 2016, 27.5% of Chicago households did not have a car, while the national average was 8.7. You can do without a car, but if you prefer to drive like me, just remember that traffic gets really bad during rush hour. It's one of those things you'll have to get used to. Chicago has the third worst traffic in America, behind New York and Philadelphia. However, when it's not rush hour, driving in Chicago is a breeze, and it's a lot of fun. Take Lake Shore Drive, which is a multi-level expressway that runs alongside the shoreline of Lake Michigan, and enjoy the view. You may, however, have a hard time finding a place to park. Residents of Chicago Spend 56 hours per year looking for a parking spot that's triple the American average. Chicago has also one of the most expensive on-street parking in the country, with some spots costing $6.50 per hour. The city also offers bicycle and scooter sharing systems, and cycling is really popular here. Lake Michigan is one of the 5 Great Lakes of North America. This region is often referred to as the Third Coast. Applause. Let's try the water. Oh, it's so chilly after Florida. No comparison, the water is so clear, it's impressive. I love it. Applause. If there's ever a situation when you get extremely unlucky with the weather, that's gonna be me in Chicago. And you see, it's the 4th day and it's been raining constantly, and I mean, look at the skyline. Oh boy, the water is so surprisingly blue that you might think you are in the Caribbean. The Chicago Lakefront Trail is an 18.5-mile lawn path for walking, jogging, skateboard and cycling. The city is a popular choice for students as well as graduates looking to start a career. Chicago has a very diversified economy. Chase Bank has its U.S. and Canada commercial and retail banking headquarters here. McDonald's moved its global headquarters to Chicago in 2018. United Airlines and Boeing are both headquarters in Chicago. Also, the Chicago Board of Trade opened in 1848 as one of the world's oldest futures and options exchanges. The minimum wage in the city is one of the highest in the nation, $15 an hour, and the average monthly net salary is $66,000 according to Numbeo. Living in Chicago is cheaper than in New York or Los Angeles. Consumer prices are 23% lower than in New York compared to the East Coast and the West Coast. Chicago's housing market is probably the best bargain. For example, the median house value in Chicago is $330,000 according to Zillow, but in New York it's $705,000.